We've come a long way, baby.
If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please tap the subscribe button to help me keep this show going. And if you enjoyed this episode, like and share it, because it really does help support me making this show, which helps people go vegan and stay vegan. Welcome to Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle, your show for compassionate living without sacrifice. Two things I'm asked, surprisingly, still to this day are, how do I get my protein? And how can I be vegan and Italian, even from Italians themselves? The answer to the latter is, there's an entire repertoire of inherently plant-based Italian recipes. And to both, on this episode of Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle, I'll show you how to make 3 Italian vegan recipes, 2 of them inherently plant-based, and 1 veganized by Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle's own Chef Maria. They're each packed with protein and nutrients, and they can all be made gluten-free. We'll make Sicilian street food that hails from the 9th century, head north for my no-waste Tuscan Ribollita with an LVL twist, and circle back south to my beloved Calabria for one of the region's delicious classics, all right here on Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle. Sicilian vegan street food. No, street food is not a new thing. As a matter of fact, it is centuries old, and a lot of it is plant-based, so vegan-friendly. When Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle's fans ask, LVL listens and delivers. I've heard all your requests for more Italian recipes, so here's a centuries-old Sicilian street food that with only 3 ingredients is affordable, savory, laden with protein, easy to make, and inherently plant-based. Panelle is a Sicilian chickpea fritters sandwich. Yes, it's Sicilian vegan street food, believed to be introduced in Palermo by the Arabs, who reigned over Sicily from the 9th to 11th centuries. Panelle is an example of cucina povera, or rustic cuisine, using only 3 inexpensive local ingredients: chickpea flour, water, and salt. Initially enjoyed during the period starting December 13th, Saint Lucia Day, to the Christmas holiday, to celebrate the feast days with abundance, it eventually became a daily meal. The wealthy classes ate them in secret, with ill-disguised envy for the delicious foods from the forbidden streets. Served as a sandwich, it can also be an appetizer with a squeeze of lemon and incorporated in other ways. I tasted my first panelle from an authentic panellaro while visiting fellow filmmaker friends in Palermo when I lived in Italy. And now I'm sharing the recipe with you.
Pane e panelle. This is basically 1.5 cups of chickpea flour with 3 cups of water. So what we do is we put salted water in a pan and we sift the flour in while stirring. Ooh. There we go. And I'm going to do it a little bit, whisking it, because you want to avoid having lumps. So what we're going to do is make pretty much a dough. And it's now on medium heat. And you have to stir it constantly so that it doesn't stick to the pan. And sift it in so you avoid the lumps. And the consistency is like polenta, which is made from cornmeal. But this, as I said, is chickpea flour. So you want a thick consistency, very dense, like a thick soup maybe, or a very, very thick soup. But you'll see the magic of this as it heats up and the chickpea flour combines with the water. It's going to become very thick very fast. The recipe is called pane panelle. The point pane means bread, and panelle are these chickpea fritters. Pane panelle because it originated as a sandwich, so that is the traditional recipe. But nowadays, people add parsley. So once the mixture is thickened and you salt and pepper it to taste, you can add coarsely chopped parsley if you want that. It gives it more flavor, and it also adds color. It's very pretty. Now you'll see on here, I'll let this cook for a second. You'll see on the plate that I have parsley, right? Like I said, and lemon slices, because these panelle, you can even squeeze some lemon on. Woo, they're there goes my parsley sticking. You can squeeze some lemon on this and eat it like that. Beautiful, beautiful flavor. So the chickpea has this rich protein flavor, right? And actually has a lot of protein in it. And then the parsley and or the lemon add to that flavor, which is amazing. So I first had these when I went to Palermo, which is where they're from. Palermo is the capital of Sicily. And I went to Palermo to visit fellow filmmakers, and they brought me to a street fair where we had these panelle, really delicious. The traditional bun, there are 3 different traditional buns that you can have them in, but they're not easily found here in the States. So, and I'm gluten-free, so I'm going to make a gluten-free sandwich to show you. I found this really great bread. So now, let me tilt the camera because this is starting to thicken and it will happen really fast. So I want to show you how, you see it's already clumping? You see that? It's turning into this batter already. So from now, it's going to happen quite quickly. So look at this magic. This happened really fast, right? So now that we have this beautiful, God, I could just eat this with a spoon. So now that we have this magic, I'm going to put some more salt in just to taste. Oh, it's bubbling up. I got to stir it. It's going to explode. I'm turning off the flame now. Now you oil a baking pan, a shallow baking pan, and now you spread this beautiful mixture on the pan. And you have to do it fast because it immediately starts to solidify, just like polenta, if you've ever made polenta. Okay, I hate to waste. I want to get every drop, every. Look at how beautiful that is. And all you do is you spread it. You want it to be like a 3 centimeter thickness. So you just spread it nicely, and then you want to make it as smooth as you can. As smooth as you can on top. So you'll have these nice, these nice sandwich ready fritters. Ooh, let me flip that around. And as I'm finishing this, there is so much vegan food in Italy, so much of it. And I have never had a hard time. I've been going to Italy since I was 6 years old, became vegetarian when I was 12, vegan since 96. And I have never had a hard time eating in Italy. And discovering, dishes like this that are inherently vegan, centuries old, is so exciting. All right, so now we've spread this thing. So what you do now is you let this cool. You see, let me hold it up to you. You let this cool for about 30. Can you see the steam coming off the pan is actually hot. You let this cool for 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm just going to set it right here. And after the 30 minutes is up, this is what it looks like, right? Same thing, just chilled. And then you slice it into these squares, like 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter. And I will show you what you do next. You take your pastry brush or basting brush, and let me tilt the camera down. Hello. And you just brush them with some olive oil. Okay. And then you set the oven to 350. Okay, brushing those. There we go. You can put more or less. I try to put as little as possible to be as healthy as possible. So you brush those with olive oil, and then you set the oven to 350 and you bake them for about 15 minutes. Now, they'll pretty much come out the same. So what I like to do is put them in the broiler for about 5 to 7 minutes so they get this kind of, more golden top, more golden. Traditionally, these are fried. So I prefer the healthier version, and also I'm a disaster at frying. So I prefer to have the healthier version. Now, all you do is you put some panelle on your bread, like so, easy, easy. And then you top it, of course, with the other side of the bread. And the bread is actually nice and warm, so Would you like to see me taste it and see the results?
Now let's head north for my hearty yet lean Tuscan main course that's perfect for the fall. Ribollita LVL style is my take on the classic Tuscan dish, Ribollita, with an LVL twist. Traditionally prepared with greens, cannellini beans, and stale bread, the no-waste Ribollita is another example of the cucina povera that refers to the frugality and creativity of the rural Italian kitchen, using leftovers, usually on Fridays, a giorno di magra, lean days, when Italians abstained from eating meat or animal flesh, and as we might refer to it today, Meatless Friday. Inherently plant-based, this dish is a perfectly delicious way to warm up while getting in your greens and proteins. The twist? Since my parents, who you've met on the show, hail from Calabria and made a similar dish when I was growing up, I'm adding some Calabrian heat.
I am going to make a recipe called Ribollita, which is a classic Tuscan recipe, and the star of it is stale bread. So what we're going to do first is take this beautiful, colorful mix of sofrito, right? It's onions, garlic, carrot, celery, the base of many different recipes, and we're going to toss it in some heated, beautiful, I can smell it, extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to saute that on medium heat for about 5 to 7 minutes until the onions get transparent and the veggies are cooked a little bit golden. So while this happens, I will tell you the other stars of this dish. Greens. I am a greens addict. I love greens. So the main very important ingredient of Ribollita, because it's from Tuscany, is lacinato kale. So I should have left one whole, but these are the long kale, the one that's kind of like the lizardy texture. So lacinato, or some people might call it lacinato kale, is the Tuscan kale. And now while this is sauteing, I want to tell you the other greens. We use some Swiss chard, which is another green that I love, and it calls for Savoy cabbage, but I'm using Chinese cabbage just because I love the taste of it and the texture. So those are the 3 greens. The other star of this, because everyone's always asking vegans, where do we get our protein? Beans, cannellini beans, cannellini, white, the small white beans. So we're going to do something fun with that. This recipe is a bit involved, but it's very easy and very delicious. Besides being inherently vegan, these recipes are no waste, and they are also from the cucina povera, which means the kitchen, let's say, or the cuisine of the impoverished, because poor people get inventive and frugal and create these recipes that to us today seem like these lush, rich recipes. So whereas they used what was available to them, today we might think of kale as a bougie ingredient. That's going to take a few more minutes. It's almost done. So I think right now what we can do is toss in the next ingredient, which is potato, and accompanying that is our herb for today, which is thyme. And I have some sprigs, so I'll show you exactly what those look like. But we toss the potato in, and we'll saute that for a couple of minutes. My parents are from Calabria, so one special ingredient to me, being a spicy woman, is the peperoncino. So I'm going to add some of this to my ribollita. You don't have to if you don't like spicy food, because this recipe is incredible on its own, but I love to add my peperoncino wherever I can. If you touch it like that, if you do use it and you touch it like that, be sure to wash your hands immediately, because I have rubbed my eyes and been like, what is that? So be sure to wash your hands immediately. So our potatoes are sauteing. Can you see that? with the sofrito and the thyme. And I'll show you what the thyme looks like. This is thyme. Oh, it smells almost, it's almost like an oregano kind of, you know, in that kind of family, very herby and very healing to smell. I'm the one who goes to the grocery store and smells the basil and the tomatoes and just basks it in while everyone looks at me like I'm insane. But I grew up with rural Italian parents who grew their own veggies and my grandparents who grew their own veggies. So these things are very special to me. So this is nice. I pre-cooked my potatoes, which the recipe does not call for that, but I wanted to do the fast version of this for you guys. So now that the potatoes are pretty much getting golden, we can add in the next ingredient, which is tomato. This is a nice vine-ripened tomato to honor my grandfather's garden, my nonno's garden. So there we go. We're going to saute that in just for a few seconds because now I'm going to show you just for a few seconds. Okay. And now we can add the star of the show. The lacinato kale goes in. The Swiss chard goes in. I'm putting too much. I'm a greens addict. I love greens. The cabbage goes in. And now what we're going to do is pour in the liquid reserved from the beans. I use the pre-cooked beans, which is fine. And I'm using the liquid from that. So we're going to stir this in, stir it together. Oh God, it smells so good. I wish you guys were here. You're supposed to cook this for about 2 hours to 4 hours, then cover it. I'll show you the steps. Then cover it and let it sit for another 4 hours or preferably overnight. And then you ribolla it the next day. You reheat it the next day and it is just hearty and flavorful and delicious. While this is boiling, we're going to take our other star of the show, our cannellini beans, our white beans, and we're going to take half of these, and we are going to mash them so we get a nice creamy consistency. Already it's going to be creamy with the bread inside, but with these mashed beans, it's going to add a little bit of a more creaminess to it. Okay. You don't have to mash it like completely, you know, it's not hummus, but just a little bit to leave them, to get them nice and creamy. So we'll toss those in here. So now technically you're supposed to let these half of the beans cook for a half hour. I'm going to put some veg broth in this. Put some veg broth to help it along cooking. And I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit to help it along. Okay, great. Good. And here you can add salt and pepper to taste. And my veggie broth is already, it's low sodium, but it's already salted. So I'm gonna taste it now, just to cheat, because I love tasting my food as I go along. But I'm gonna test the salt. So I'm gonna add more of the beans. And I'm gonna add my secret, my special twist ingredient. I didn't add salt because like I mentioned, my veggie broth was already salted. So I'm just gonna add some black pepper. Freshly ground is better, of course, but for the sake of being quick, do that. And my special LVL, Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle twist, my Calabrian peperoncino, spicy Calabrian pepper, which again, it is not traditional to the recipe. So only if you're a spicy person like me, you can toss it in. But the dish is incredible on its own. So we've got the stale bread in there, in the clay pot. And you can use, if you don't have a clay pot, of course, you can use a glass pot or dish because it has to soak overnight. So here we go. Look at how pretty this is. This Isn't it just colorful too? I added the red onion, so we would have the purple in there. We layer more bread on this. Like that, like so. And then you just keep adding it on top. Let it soak overnight, and then you just heat it on the stove. So then you would cover this with foil and let it sit for another 3 or 4 hours. But this is after you cook it slowly for like 2 to 3 hours, okay? Slowly pouring the broth in, the veg broth in, to help the veggies cook and add all that flavor in. So this is what it will look like pretty much, just a little bit more mushy. But my God, it is so delicious. We talk so much about no waste these days, right? And I cannot stand the idea of wasting food. So my sister, who's an actual blue ribbon chef, calls me the leftover queen because I always manage to create new dishes from leftovers. So ribollita, a dish made traditionally from leftovers, is the perfect Lucia vegan lifestyle vegan dish. This is called ribollita, which means re-cooked, because it's a cucina povera, poor cuisine dish from Tuscany. The star of it is stale bread and lacinato, or Tuscan kale, and lots of greens, white beans, cannellini beans. This one, with a Lucia's vegan lifestyle twist, I added some Calabrian hot pepper.
And of course, I would be remiss to leave out the region of Italy to which I'm most partial, and of which I'm an ambassador. This next recipe is a classic dish from my parents' native Calabria, polpette di melanzane, or eggplant meatballs. And Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle's own Chef Maria, my sister, has veganized it for us. Plus, we'll make them gluten-free. Let's go to my kitchen and I'll show you how. Saporita. Perfect. You can eat them as a snack as is, in your lunchbox for back to school, back to work, or make a nice parmigiana. Top your pasta with it. So many different ways to enjoy these polpette di melanzane. When you make these recipes, post your photos and videos on social media and tag Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle, and I'll give you a shout out. For more on vegan living, tune in to forthcoming episodes of Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle on MNN, Tuesdays bi-weekly at 8:30 p.m., on BronxNet first Thursdays of the month at 7 p.m., and on the Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle YouTube channel. Level up with LVL and live your best vegan life. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Lucia's Vegan Lifestyle, your show for compassionate living without sacrifice. I'm Lucia, I'm vegan, and this is my lifestyle.